in September because it's sort of like the New Year's. You get a chance to rethink things and maybe set some new goals. Sarah Vermunt is here. She is a professional coach. She's a career expert. You've written the book, Careergasm, so it's all about it, and I think that a lot of us are thinking about how we might be able to do life a little bit better. But your focus is about creating goals that actually make you feel good. They're not punitive.
Yeah.
They're things you want in your life.
And you know, a lot of us actually pursue and chase goals that maybe don't feel so good because we think we should do something versus we want to do something.
Yeah.
So I'm really big on setting goals that actually feel good.
Okay, so when we talk about figuring out what actually feels good, what should we be thinking about?
Well, if you want to set goals that feel good, one of the first things you have to do is kind of look at your past goals and kind of like get a compass gauge for what actually has felt good for you in the past.
Yeah.
So, you know, are you someone who loves big, juicy, ambitious, long-term goals? Then that's your kind of thing. Or if you like a couple of quick hits for like some short-term goals, you should do that. But when you look at your past goals, you'll notice that some of them have felt good for you, and some of them, and if you're like most people, maybe a lot of them have felt not so good. So one of the things we have to do when we're trying to come up with new goals is drop the goals that feel bad. I think a lot of us have something called what I call ambition amnesia.
Yeah.
It's like we chase the same kind of goal over and over, but it never quite does it for us. It's like we reach the goal, but it feels a little bit anticlimactic. And if that's happening, you need to switch up the way you set your goals.
I'm thinking weight.
Yes, yeah.
Think about it. Every year. So some people start in January is the big push, but September as well. I'm going to lose 100 pounds. And every single time, it's, you know, it's almost this unattainable thing. It goes away within 6 weeks. Doesn't necessarily feel good. Maybe you don't need to lose that weight.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people set those weight goals, you know, especially for those of us who are women, because we have friends, colleagues, family who are setting those goals. And copycat goals never actually feel good. Like if you're setting a goal just because you notice lots of other people are setting a similar goal, whether it's weight loss or going for the promotion or something else, setting a goal just because you notice other people are doing it's not going to pay off for you.
That's very interesting. Because I would think, oh, it's great, I'm being motivated. Everybody else is trying to lose weight. Maybe I'll try and lose weight. But I think it's a very good point that you say, actually, that's not your thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a priority for you right now.
If it's not a priority, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. So how do you figure out how to prioritize your goals? What do you do?
The way I like to think about it is to think about fear versus desire. A lot of us pursue goals that are really rooted in fear versus rooted in desire. So I'll give you an example. I used to set a lot of goals that were rooted in fear. I care an awful lot about what other people think, and I used to set a lot of goals around that, like trying to do really stuff that I thought was really impressive, like big promotions, lots of degrees, things I thought would impress people. And I started to notice that that was all really fear about what people would think of me, and so I set my goals around it, and it never paid off no matter how hard I worked. And so I started thinking about desire-based goals a little bit. Now the tricky thing is, how do you figure out if your goals are based in fear or desire, right? It's a tricky thing to figure out. It's like the million-dollar question. The way I like to think of it is almost like should versus want. Is this something you think you should do or something you have to do versus something you really want to do? Another way to think about it is, does this goal you're thinking of feel light and exciting, or does it feel heavy? Like, do you want to nap indefinitely when you think about this goal? Or do you sort of feel a little bit supercharged when you think about the goal? Because it's not just the payoff that should feel good. The process should feel good too.
Oh, these are such good points. Okay, so now you've got to delineate. You've got to figure it out. Is this fear? Is this desire? So dig deep and figure that out. If you've figured out you've made goals that are actually based on want and desire, there's still a few things you need to do to just make sure you're prioritizing, right? And make sure that you're doing it the right way. Because some people want a lot of goals. Some people only want a few. And both works, depending on who you are.
You really have to honor what feels good for you. Just, you know, just like I was talking about before, short-term versus long-term, or a lot of goals versus like one really big juicy goal. Personally, I'm a big fan of fewer, more fiercely focused goals.
Me too.
Because, I mean, time and energy are not infinite. And so a lot of us are it's almost like every year, every September, every January, we set new goals, but we forget to release some of the old goals that aren't working for us anymore. So it's like we keep piling on these goals. And so sometimes it's good to clear the deck a little bit and actually have fewer, more focused goals.
Right. Are you a writer-downer of your goals?
Oh, definitely.
You do?
I love
you write
my
them.
lists.
So everyone says if you write them down, that's the thing that's going to make the difference. And I don't usually start in September or January. I start whenever the momentum hits me.
Good. Yeah, and that means you're self-motivated. You're not just picking something out of thin air because, oh, well, this is the time of year that we have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is a nice reminder, right, to get on track and get doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
So in terms of tweaking or tossing your goals, look back at maybe what your goals were 5 years ago, 1 year ago, a few months ago. Get rid of the ones that aren't working for you and hang on and focus on the ones that are.
Yeah, I love the keep, toss, tweak method. So obviously if your goals are working for you, like keep on trucking, keep those goals.
Yeah.
Some you may need to toss if they feel bad, but actually a lot of goals you just need to tweak. One of the most common tweaks that can actually help us with our goals is to tweak your timeline. I don't know about you, but I have often set a lot of goals in a ridiculous amount of time, like trying to do way too much in a very short period.
Yeah.
And even if the goal is attractive to me, if it's not humanly possible to actually complete it in a certain period of time, you're sort of self-sabotaging.
Right.
So a really good tweak for some goals is to ease up on the timeline a little bit. It might make the goal feel way better.
Okay, Sarah, thanks for that. Great advice. Write the goals down. Let's